All right, class, this is Pre-Algebra, lesson 7.1, and starting a new chapter here, and this is percents. All right, so Pre-Algebra and percents. And percents are pretty easy. Hopefully this will be a good chapter for you. A lot of stuff involved. But let's go ahead and begin. 7.1%, what is it? It's a ratio of a number to, and here's the key, I'm going to write it in red, 100. It's the ratio of a number to 100. Or you could think of it this way. It's per 100. Per 100, meaning the 100 is on the bottom. So what is percent? A ratio of a number per 100. So if you say you have, for example, and look over here on the right, if you say you have 5%, you're saying you have 5 out of every 100. 5 per 100, right? Just out of 100. If you have 50%, you have 50 out of 100. That's the idea, and that's the concept. It means of every 100. So number one here, so 12% means what? 12 out of every 100, right? 12 out of every 100. All right, let's take a look, and we've got to learn all kinds of different aspects involving percent. So this first one is changing percent to a rational number. Changing percent to a rational number. Do you remember what a rational number is? I hope you do. They're fractions, right? So we're going to change a percent to a fraction. All right, how do you do that? Not too tough. Place the amount of the percent over 100, because remember, percent means out of every 100. All right? The symbol is not used because now you are actually doing the per 100. Right? So the symbol's not there anymore, and that's important. You can't include now the symbol anymore because you have the 100 on the bottom. The symbol tells you there's supposed to be 100 on the bottom. When you put the 100 on the bottom, you no longer have the symbol there. Okay. And then always, always, always reduce if possible. Reduce if possible. So it's real simple. Take the amount, put it over 100. Don't use the percent symbol anymore, and reduce if possible. Let's look at a couple examples here. So 11%. Take the 11, no percent symbol anymore, divided by 100. Look to reduce. Can you reduce an 11 over 100? The answer is no, and we're done. 18%. All right, take the 18, put it over the 100. Can we reduce this? Yeah, this one we can reduce. All right, remember an 18 is a 2 times 9, and a 100 is a 2 times a 50. And of course, our common 2's divide out. 2 divided by 2 is 1. What's our final answer here? 9/50. Right? So you're going to always look to reduce if possible. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Couple more examples. 84%. Can you do that? All right, 84%. Let me pause, go ahead and change that to a fraction. All right, so on this one, a lot of reducing. You have 84 over 100, 2 divided by 2, another 2 divided by another 2, and then what are we left with? We're left with 21 over 25. So 84% is 21/25. Hey, you can go over 100%. So our last example here, 250%, would be 250 divided by 100. You can always cross out those tens, crossing out the zeros. All right, it can still reduce. 25 is a 5 times 5, and of course a 10 is a 2 times 5, and now our 5's divide out. And what is the fraction, the rational number? 5/2. Okay? All right, what else? How about changing, let me put this a little higher. How about changing a mixed number percent to a rational number, a fraction? A mixed number percent. All right, so how do you do this one? It's not so hard. Change the mixed number to an improper fraction. We know how to do that. Done it already, right? We know how to change a mixed number to an improper fraction. Because you already have a fraction, instead of dividing by 100, you will multiply by 1 over 100. That's exactly the same as dividing by 100. And again, you're not going to use the symbol anymore because you divided by 100. And of course, reduce before you multiply, right? Arbum, always look to reduce. So really, it's the same concept. We're dividing by 100, but we're going to do it in the form of multiplying by 1 over 100. All right, so we got 3 1/6, and we're going to go ahead and convert this to an improper fraction. So we all know 3 times 6 is 18 plus 1 is 19. So we have 19/6%. And so then to convert that, we're going to take the 19 over 6, and we're going to multiply it by 1 over 100. Now, if I can do any reducing, I'm going to look to do it here, right? I'm going to Arbum. Remember, multiplying fractions, top times top, bottom times bottom, but I can reduce. And I'm looking, there's a 19 on the top, and 19 is not going to reduce with anything, and this one just ends up being 19 over 600. 3 1/6% is 19/600ths. Okay, it's just the way it turned out. All right, so second one, 13 1/3. So 13 times 3 is 39, and 1 is 40. And we have 40/3 times our 1 over 100. Again, whenever dividing by 100 or multiplying by 1 over 100, we have now done the percent. The symbol is no longer there. Arbum. All right, 40. 4 times, oh, let's do the tens. That's quicker. What am I thinking here? Do the zeros there, right? 10 there and a 10 there. A 4 is a 2 times 2, and a 10 is a 2 times 5. Let's divide out those 2's. And where are we at? 2 times 1 on the top is 2. 3 times 5 on the bottom is 15. And we have 2 15ths. And what is 13 1/3%? It is 2 15ths. All right, number 4. Number 4, to change percent to a decimal. To change percent to a decimal. All you really need to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the, which way? To the left. Move the decimal point 2 places to the left and drop the percent symbol. Look, what we're actually doing is dividing by 100. It's just a shortcut. It's a shortcut. Because they're so easy to do, we could just simply, all we need to worry about is simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Now, you won't always see the decimal point. In all 3 examples here, there's no decimal point shown. But we always know it comes after the last number. So where's the decimal point in the 57%? It's right there. I got to move it 2 places to the left. Uno, dos, right? 2 places to the left. And what do I end up with? I end up with the number 0.57. Again, I've really divided this number by 100. This is just a shortcut of moving the decimal point. So again, the percent symbol is gone because I've divided it by 100. I've converted it to a decimal. So 0.57 or 0.57, I don't care how you do that. All right, so go ahead and do 8%. Should just take you a second. Change 8%. And again, hopefully you're just going to move that decimal point 2 places. Do a 0 placeholder. 0.08 or 0.08. And 317%. All right, no problem. Let's move that decimal point 2 places to the left and 3.17%. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. Let's look at the next situation. Hey, be careful. 0.5%. Well, that's okay. Again, we're technically dividing by 100, but simple way to do it is simply move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Need another 0 placeholder. This one's 0.005. Again, no percent symbol because we've divided by 100. We did per 100. So what would you do with 7 1/4? You get 7 1/4%. How are you going to change this to a decimal? All right, what are you going to do in this one? Well, in this one, we really have to know what 1/4 is. So 7 1/4% is 7.25%. We're going to talk about these conversions here in a moment, okay? Excuse me. All right, pause that video because a big sneeze came there. All right, so anyhow, we'll talk about decimal equivalents for fractions here in a moment, but 1/4 is 0.25. So 7 1/4% is really 7.25%. Well, now I'm ready to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Again, I got to drop my percent symbol, and my final answer to this one ends up being 0.0725 is the decimal equivalent. Okay? Again, once you divide by 100, which is moving the decimal point 2 places to the left, you drop the percent symbol. All right, let's take a note and let's make sure that we know some common fractions, right? So note the decimal value. And you should know these already, if not all of them, at least most of them. All right, hopefully we all know that a half is, and I hope you're thinking 0.5. Let's go across to the right. Again, here's a quarter, and we just did that one. That's 0.25. 3/4, all right, 0.75. 1/3 is 0.3, technically with the bar over top, because it's 0.33333333. 2/3, 0.6 with the bar, because it's 0.6666666. 1/5, you know that one? 1/5 is 0.2. 2/5 is 0.4. 3/5 is 0.6, and 4/5 is 0.8. All right, so there are some common decimal equivalents there for fractions. All right, number 6, to change a decimal to a percent. We're going the opposite direction of what we just did. So if I want to change a decimal to a percent, then what I have to do is the opposite of changing a percent to a decimal. So I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places, but instead of going to the left, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go to the right. And now I'm getting rid of the per 100. So technically I'm multiplying by 100, and therefore I have to add the percent symbol. So on the first one, and I got cut off here a little bit on the bottom of my text, this is 0.18. Technically, this is what you're doing. 0.18, and you're really multiplying times 100%. This is technically what you're doing, and therefore we end up with 18%. But the shortcut is just move the decimal point 2 places to the right and provide the percent symbol. So it's so easy to do. That's just all we do. So for example B, all right, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 3.25, and add the percent symbol. That's pretty easy. All right. 14.75%, okay. It doesn't matter. Wherever that decimal point is, just move it 2 places to the right. And remember to give the percent symbol. And oh, by the way, again, any number that is in the thousands and such, use your commas there. Help the person read the number to be able to read it clearly and succinctly. Right, but again, technically, what are we doing? We're multiplying by 100%, but the shortcut is just move the decimal point 2 places to the right. That's all you need to do. Okay. All right, number 7. Changing a fraction to a percent. All right, how do you change a fraction to a percent? Change it to a decimal. All right, so how do you change a fraction to a percent? First, change it to a decimal. Why? How do you do that? By dividing, right? By dividing the top by the bottom. Use a remainder after two decimal places. I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. And the last thing is move the decimal point two places to the right, because now we have a decimal. And then again, add the percent symbol. All right, I know the wording there might not mean a whole lot to you right now, but as soon as we do a few, hopefully it'll make a lot of sense, and that wording is there for you to look back at and make sure that you remember what we did. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple examples here. All right, come on, page. All right, so number 1, 3/8. All right, first off, I have to figure out decimal equivalent. Now, we do have fractions right now, our calculators right now, but in something like this, just go ahead and do it longhand. It's not going to take that long, and it's really actually easier. So we want to take the 3 on the top and divide the bottom, the 8, into the 3. The bottom always gets divided into the top. All right, so we got to divide 8 into 3. Does 8 go into 3? No. So we need our decimal point. I'm going to put a 0 there. Does 8 go into 30? Yes, 8 goes into 30. How many times? 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Got to subtract it. We got a 6. All right. This is, bring down the 0. How many times does 8 go into 60? 7 times. 8 times 7 is 56. We have a 4. Now, back up here, I said use a remainder after two decimal places. You see right now we're at two decimal places. So at this point I want to use a remainder. So I take the 4 remainder if there's something. If it was a 0, I'd be done. But I take the 4 and I divide it by the divisor, the 8. And of course, now what do I have? I have 0.37 and 4/8. Now I can therefore then call that 0.37 and a half, right? And therefore now I just, so 37 and a half, and therefore then I can move the decimal point 2 places to the right, change it into a percent, and get 37.5%. Now, by the way, this is the exact same thing as 37.5%. But I don't want a decimal round off. Now, 0.5 isn't a round off, and that would have ended right there. But in a lot of cases, you're not going to get an exact, you're not going to be able to, it's going to be a repeater. It's going to keep going. And because of that, we want to finish this way. So just use the fraction. I know it's kind of odd, and I know I'm kind of stumbling a little bit around it because there are some easier ways of thinking of things, but we're trying to cover every situation. All right, so let's do 11/6. Same situation. Again, you got to take that 11 and divide it by the bottom, the 6. Okay, this one, 6 goes into 11, and it goes in 1 time. All right, now my decimal point, right? Bring down the 0. 6 goes into 50. 6 times 8 is 48. I have a 2 now. I only have 1 decimal place so far, so I need another one, right? Bring down another 0. 6 goes into 20 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Okay, now I've gone 2 decimal places. I've got my remainder. And this is 2/6, which we know is 1/3, right? So where am I at right now? I'm at 1.83 and 1/3. How do you change that to a percent? Again, you multiply it times 100%, or do the shortcut, move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So this one is going to end up being 183 and 1/3. And remember, whenever you multiply by 100% or move the decimal point 2 places to the right, you include the percent symbol. 183 and 1/3%. All right, let's Go back and do a quick review here. Remember, we're talking about percent. What does that mean? It's a ratio of a number to 100. That means a fraction, which means the number per 100. How many out of 100? So if we said 12%, we mean 12 out of every 100. All right, we had a look at changing a percent to a fraction. How do you do it? Well, because percent means out of every 100 or per 100, simply divide by 100, drop the percent symbol, and reduce. Don't worry about it being a mixed number. In this case, instead of dividing by 100, it's easier to multiply by 1 over 100. Again, reduce before you multiply. How do you change a decimal, a percent, to a decimal? That's real simple. Just move the decimal point 2 places to the left and drop the percent symbol. Pretty easy to do. 2 places to the left, drop the percent symbol. How about going the other way? How about change a decimal to a percent? Well, now you got to go 2 places to the right and add the percent symbol. It's the opposite of that one. And then changing a fraction to a percent, change the fraction to a decimal first, and then you can change that decimal to a percent by moving the decimal point. All right? That's the idea. That's the concept. Come on in class tomorrow, and we'll work some homework and get you guys going. Have a great night.